Our next tutorial. In this tutorial, I will talk about the Karnaugh Veitch diagram. I will explain to you how you can write down your Karnaugh Veitch diagram. And for that, you have to attend this Karnaugh Veitch diagram. It has 16 fields because the variable input is 4. That means if you have 4 input, then you have 16 fields. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And what you should also know is the rule of the Karnaugh Veitch diagram. And soon you will see the ones or zeros. But before we will begin, I want to explain you what you see here. At first of all, you see those numbers. These numbers are very important. Those numbers in the right side belongs to B, okay? And the numbers like that, 0, 0, 1, 1, belongs to A. Here, this number belongs to C. This number belongs to D. This number belongs to C. D, C, D, C, D. Okay? So that means not D. That means D. That means also D. And that means not D. That means not B. That means B, B, not B, not A, not A, A, A. So now you have understand all those numbers on the right and the left side and in the middle of the Karnaugh Veitch diagram. What's the next? The next, I have written all down the rules of the Karnaugh Veitch diagram. At first, you should know that the rule is you can cycle only 1 and D together. 0 and D together. 1 alone. 0 alone. And D stands for don't care. So let's show an example. If you have numbers like that, so what do you have to do now? Here is written that the rule is you can cycle only 1 and D together. What does that mean? That means you cannot cycle 1 and 0. Okay? You cannot. It's not allowed. But you can cycle 0 and D. And you can also cycle 1 and D. Or you can cycle 1 and 1. Or 0 and 0. That's allowed. Okay? Or like in this cases, D and 1 together. But you can also cycle 0 alone or 1 alone. Okay, if if it doesn't have any neighbors. This is the first rule. So what you have also attend. If you have two focus on one, then only one in D or one alone. That means it depends on the sum of product and product of sum. If your equation should be sum of product, then you should focus on one. Okay? And that means that you need, if they're coming also D as number, then you should cycle D and 1 also together. Okay? But if your equation will be product of sum, then you should focus on 0. And then only 0 in D or 0 alone should be cycled. Okay? So that's the second. Now we come to the second rule. You can cycle 0 and 1 together. I already told you that it's not allowed to cycle 1 and 0 together. It's forbidden. You can't cycle 3, 5, 6, 7, 9 numbers together. What I doesn't mean. That means you cannot cycle 3 numbers. For example, this is not allowed. And it's also not allowed to cycle numbers like this. I show you another example. If I have 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, it's not allowed to cycle 6 numbers together, or 7 or 9 numbers, okay? It's not allowed. But you can cycle 1 number alone, like that. If you have a number alone, you can also cycle 2 numbers, like that. Or you can cycle 8 number. It's allowed, okay? Or 16 numbers, like that. If I have here 1, 1, 1, and this also 1, also 1, and this also 1, then I can cycle all the 16 numbers together. The formula is 2 square n, and n is a natural number beginning with 0. That means if I have 2, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 4, 2, 3, 8, 2, 4, 16. Okay? You see, I have multiplied always 2 times 1. And all of this is allowed. Okay, the cycling. So, let us start making an example. so you will understand it clearly. If we have show an example. Okay, let's start. If our equation should be sum of product is something like that. It's an example, okay, for sum of product. Product of sum is something like this. But in our case, you want sum of product. So if we have a given example like this, 1, 1, 1, D, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0. So you want our equation. So we need to watch at this Karnaugh Veitch diagram. What we see here, zeros and ones. But when we want to create our sum of product, then we need to focus on one only. Okay? And in this case, we have also D. D stands for don't care. And D makes our equation sometimes simple, easier, okay? So what do we have to do now? I already have learned that we can cycle 4, 2, 1, 16, 32 numbers together. And here, after the rule that we cannot cycle 1 and 0 together, only 1 and these, then we can see that we can cycle those ones together, and we can cycle also those ones together. At first, you need to do watch at this cycle. And the cycle you see in the area of 0 and 1. 1 stands for D, 0 stands for not C. And that means that our equation, the product is not C and D. But we are not finished. We have to watch here also. What we see here, in this case, A and B should be ignored. Why? Because this area, this cycle is in the area 0 and 1 of B, and in 0 and 1 of A. If that's the case, we should ignore A and B. So we don't write anything like A and B here. The next thing is we have to make plus. Why? Because we have another cycle, okay? And this cycle is in the area of B, because we have 2 times B, and D, because you have 2 times 1. 2 times D is 1, okay? What about A and C? Here you see A is 0 and 1, that should be ignored. C is 1 and 0, 0 and 1, that should be also ignored. That means that's our final equation. In the next video I will show you more examples so you will understand better. Goodbye.